Yes, good morning, and this is still the Morning Express, and you're tuned to Mainland 98.3 FM. Time check right now is 7:40 a.m. It's time for trends in the papers. This is the part where we get to look through the major stories trending on the front pages of our dailies. And yeah, to some review, we have our analysts who will be joining us very soon via the phone line, and we have our papers here with us. We'll do this up until 8:30, and then we'll take a short break. By 8:40, we are back for Mainland Focus, where, of course, we just select one or two major stories from the papers and open up the phone line for you, our dear listener, to join in on the conversation. My name is Omobola Sandra, and Fuhad Sahid is our analyst who will be joining in via the phone line any moment from now. Today is the 8th of January 2024. Well, interesting days ahead. Of course, today is a lot of resumption. There's a lot of resumption happening out there. Schools are resuming, as well as some people who have gone home for the holidays. They're also resuming. So there's just a whole lot that's happening out there, especially for Lagosians. So I trust that you're able to leave home as early as possible. And if you don't have someone to wake up at 4:30 a.m. to make breakfast or lunch for you, well, I wish you all the best. Well, moving on now, I hope that, as we all start, well, this officially is the beginning of, business year for a lot of people. I wish you all well, and I hope that this year would bring some sort of productivity and some blessings and success to everything that we lay our hands on. Of course, it's our tradition here every Monday to bring you up to speed as regards the major trending stories from over the weekend. So I have my stories here. I'll start with Saturday. Rivers, Fubara Wike feud continues despite Tinubu's intervention, and that was taken from Daily Trust. Rivers crisis, we will know who is who when the time comes, and that's coming from Wike, FCT Minister. Accountant General counters Beta Edu, says payment into private account illegal. Oh, interesting days ahead for Beta Edu. That was taken from Premium Times. Dangote speaks on EFCC raid on his headquarters, also from Premium Times. And finally, for Saturday, Nigeria House chairs says raid on Dangote will hurt economy. That's interesting. I'm looking forward to further conversations as regards that particular one. The story is taken from Business Day newspaper. Moving on to Sunday, the major stories that trended. Tinubu approves 12 billion outstanding payments for Super Eagles and others. That was called from Vanguard. Pro payment of 585 million naira grant into private account or face legal action. And that's Serap to the president. FCT residents live in fear as insecurity worsens. And that was taken from Daily Trust. Hardship persists despite 23% FAC allocation rise to states, local government in 5 months. That was taken from This Day. 585 million naira fraud allegation against me plotted by mischief makers. That's taken. That was the statements from Beta Edu, Minister for Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Alleviation. Also, we have Forex scandal. Emefiele faces fresh charges as Dangote denies wrongdoing. I'll take it from The Punch. Cadbury, Guinness, others lost 472 billion naira to naira depreciation. That's taken from The Punch. National Association of Nigerian Students to Tinubu address economic crunch stifling Nigerians. That's taken from The Sun. EFCC recovers 39.8 billion naira from ex-NSIPA coordinator. That's taken from Business Day. Reports rank Nigeria 22nd country with cheapest petrol. That was taken from The Punch. And finally, Beta Edu, 585 million palliative scandal under investigation. That's coming from the presidency, and that was taken off Daily Trust. And this report was compiled by Kelvin Wafili. Those were the major stories that trended from over the weekend. Now let's see what we have as the major stories trending for today, 8th of January 2024. Of course, I'll start with the Guardian newspaper, but before then, yes, you are listening to Mainland 98.3 FM. We're social. Please follow us on our social media platforms on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at Mainland 98.3 FM and on X at Mainland FM. We're currently live on our Facebook and YouTube platforms. So as the conversation goes on, you can drop your comments in the live chat section. Good morning, Fuad. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm fine. Good morning, Sandra. How are you doing?
I'm well, thank you very much. Well, everybody's resuming today. What's the traffic like?
Well, not so busy. I guess a lot of our Eastern brothers are not fully back to Lagos. I think it always takes more of the whole of January before they fully return to Lagos. So I feel a bit light. The traffic is not as heavy as one would expect, but life is back, fully back to Lagos.
All right then. Let's carry on. Our major headline on the front page of The Guardian: Federal government in fiscal dilemma over high inflation, low revenue and forex crisis. So our inflation rate currently stands at 28.2%. And of course, our 2024 budget is 28.7 trillion naira. The story is on page 6 of the Guardian newspaper, and we have riders here. Budget implementation still a major concern. International bond market closed to Nigeria and other African countries. Fresh forex crisis threatens outlook of Naira's medium-term stability. Fiscal deficit rises by nearly 1,500% in 10 years. So Nigeria economy may have been, in some sort of doom with entrenched runaway inflation, troubled currency market, upsetting deficit, funding crisis, persistent pressure on local businesses, and similar warning indicators halting a few, but hazard moves to create flywheel and break the cycle. Indeed, the sort of difficult time Nigeria finds itself in recent years requires the desperate action seen in the past 6 months under the current administration, except that quick fixes are themselves fueling the self-reinforcing downward spiral data analysis have suggested. Fuhad, what this first paragraph is saying is that yes, Nigeria has been enmeshed in a plethora of a lot of economic challenges, but the quick fixes that the current administration has tried to, let's say, short-term plans that have been put in place to try to mitigate certain things haven't really done anything, but rather have fueled, the downward spiral. Do you agree?
Of course, I agree, Sandra. We are not in isolation when it comes to global economic challenges. Of course, you have people come and say, "Oh, it's not only Nigeria; every other country of the world is going through one or two things at this time." But the most important thing is the commitment to fixing the problem. And what have been the reactions of those countries? What have been their attitude towards addressing these particular global economic challenges that seems to be engulfing most nations of the world? I'll give an example. I think we can, of course, take an example from Africa here. Look at the response, for example, of the Malawian president. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The fact that, look, we are not in a very good place at this time. The economy is not smiling. Things are tough. We have debt obligations hanging on our necks, and we need to do something about it. And say, look, we can't continue to spend as of old. We need to do something completely different. You understand? So it's not about just coming up with beautiful policies. It's about the commitment to solving the problem. I've said it severally that, look, when we have problems, all of the things you have highlighted, Sandra, in this report, it's not anything new to Nigerians. We've talked about it over the years. All through the year 2023, we were talking about the inflationary, trend. We've talked about the problem of revenue and all of that. But one would expect that, look, if you are in such a very bad place as a country, a lot of things should change. For example, in your spending pattern, your budgetary appropriations and all of that should reflect the reality of your economic situation. But can we say that of the 2024 budget, Sandra? Can we say that what we have put in the 2024 budget reflects the current economic situation of Nigeria and indeed government's commitment to solving the problem? Can we say that? I'm sure the Punch newspaper, one of the papers, have it. Sandra, still on the renovation of the National Assembly, 30 billion naira has been budgeted in this 2024 budget.
Another
30 billion.
Yeah, it's on the Punch.
You don't understand what I'm saying.
That's 2 years ago, Fuad. We're talking about 37 billion.
Another 30 billion now in the 2024 budget.
So that's 67.
So when you have appropriations like that, does that reflect an economy that is in dire straits? Does that reflect or show true commitment of the government to solving the problem? If you understand what I'm saying. And that's just one out of the several reckless appropriations we have in the budget. So it's either we're just paying lip service or we're just, get Nigerians excited, pretend as if we're really committed to solving the problem, whereas in our minds, we're just faffing around. We're not really committed to nothing. If you understand what I'm saying. So all of the things you've highlighted, these are problems we know. The problem is the commitment. How intentional are we to solving these problems? And like I've told a lot of people who have asked me, what I see, because one of the major driving force of the economy, and that shows the response of the government to solving economic problems and fiscal problems, as you may want to put it, is your budget. And what we have in the 2024 budget has not shown any commitment, nothing different as to how the country wants to get out of this current economic quagmire. It is the same thing we did in the past that put us in this mess. It's what we are repeating. Repeating it on a larger scale.
Well, still on this report, we also have here a falling naira historically is like a falling knife on Nigeria's economy, with consequences for inflation, poor corporate performance, and unemployment. Last year alone, for dozens of companies, GSK, Evans Medical, P&G, Unilever, pulled out of Nigerian manufacturing space partially or completely, and turned the country into a marketing outpost. They were forced to take forex-related haircut. There's a lot of, reasons behind all of that. We carried the story last month as well of the fact that in the past 2 years, 15 companies have left, our manufacturing space. But the reality is that it's not only jobs that are affected now. Tax revenue cuts. Because in 2022 alone, that's the year before the last, GSK paid a total of 333 million naira in income tax. And that appears like a drop in the ocean, but the picture of how much the government is now losing yearly due to all of these companies leaving is now something that, is a serious cause for concern. And then we have the president, the vice president going all out trying to, earn more FDI. So do we have misplaced priorities at this point now, or do you think that maybe if we should focus on new investors?
You see, Sandra, luckily you were the one that brought up the conversation as to whether the problem of Nigeria is about revenue or spending, whether we have a revenue or spending problem. Even if all these companies don't leave and they continue to pay these taxes, levies, and all of that, the question is, when we make all of these monies, what are we doing with them?
Okay.
How prudent are we? You understand? So if we look for more foreign direct investors, they come in and all of that.
Far from the revenue problem now, what are we using the revenue for?
What are we using it for? That's what I just told you. One out of so many nonsense that we have in this budget. Another 30 billion to renovate that. We had the 37 billion before. In fact, there have been two timelines for the inauguration or commission of the newly renovated National Assembly. I think one was earlier in the year. The other one was supposed to be in December this year. Now, that entire project has now been carried over to this year, 2024, with another appropriation of 30 billion. The entire budget of the National Assembly was supposed to be now 194 billion. But now we have the highest ever appropriation to the National Assembly at about 340-something billion has now been approved. In that same, out of that one, 30 billion to renovate the National Assembly. And then you have all manner of funny breakdowns. They want to do a car park. They want to do maybe somewhere like a garden. You see, what we are saying is that, look, in their statement, you want to have a feeling that, look, the government understands that we are not in a very good place, economic-wise. But in their actions, they don't show it. And we are not even serious about it. You understand what I'm saying? Look, and let me tell you, Sandra, the systemic corruption we have in the system is the reason for this inflation and the reason for the spiral depreciation or the downward depreciation of the naira. A lot of these monies our political class filter away still are not kept in naira, Sandra. They are these guys who mop up the dollars. So when we talk about dollar scarcity, yes, we are not even earning enough in terms of forex as a nation. because we are not really producing. We are an import-dependent nation. We need to work heavily on our capacity to balance our trade, so that we're not just importing, we can also export and earn forex. But even the little one we earn, how does it get completely mobbed up, Sandra? The reality is that there's too much corruption in the system that is opening up, because most of these monies we steal, the political class and their associates steal, that we keep reporting every day, are not kept in Naira. So you see that it's an intertwined thing. Everything is connected one way or the other. Until we have that commitment and we are really serious about fixing the problem, it's unfortunate we just wake up every day talking about this same thing over and over and over and over again, and nothing will change.
All right, thank you very much, Fuad. We have a 2024 28.7 trillion Naira budget, and we're already looking at fiscal deficit due to the fact that projections and performance may or may not. But then let's not write off our GOEs yet. I mean, that's the government-owned enterprises. I mean, let's see what they're going to get.
We are going to borrow. We are going to borrow to fund the bigger part of that budget, and that's even the most unfortunate thing. The fact that we are borrowing to spend in this manner. Even if it was a country that had all the money. Or for example, look at the way Saudi Arabia is throwing monies around. Paying athletes ridiculous amounts of money, hosting competitions, trying to, of course, diversify the economy, and paying what you can call completely ridiculous amounts to athletes for competitions and all of that. It's because that country has the money.
All right.
So nobody is complaining.
Moving
How
on.
do you borrow to fund a reckless budget like this, Sandra?
Well, I don't even know. We have a lot of renovations in this our budget, and that's just to tell you, I'm trying to understand. There's a lot of renovations in this our budget, and I'm trying to understand how that's supposed to. How is it supposed to make us money? When we're renovating, and it's not even maybe renovation of hospitals.
Those renovations are coming with ridiculous figures. Ridiculously.
I don't mind the figures for that. Maybe if we hear that they are renovating some medical centers, they are renovating some schools.
Maybe schools, good. Maybe for example, this 30 billion for the national list is supposed to renovate maybe 3-4 federal universities and equip them well.
I'm just saying.
But we may begin to make a lot of sense from those kind of spending patterns. But to renovate official residence of the president, that he may never step in.
Thank you very much for the stories on page 6 of the Guardian newspaper. There's a lot of worry over the federal government in fiscal dilemma as regards our high inflation, low revenue, and also our forex crisis. Stories on page 6. Moving on now, we also have here, there's a lot of, I don't know, interesting days ahead for our Minister of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Alleviation. Because what we have here now is the president has ordered probe of Better Edu humanitarian ministry over 37 billion and then 535 million naira funds, and that's the latest one now for 500. Just last week we were discussing that Umar Farouk was being probed for a 37 billion, and then there was 3 billion or so that was so allegedly linked to Better Edu. So please try to clean yourself up, it's too early. But here we are now, Fuad. The president has directed that a thorough and comprehensive investigation be conducted on alleged misappropriation of public funds by the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Alleviation to ascertain the accuracy and validity of the report. So what we have now, Fuad, is that there are concerns that have been raised by the public that payment of funds into a private account by the ministry. According to the minister, the federal government, under the leadership of President Tinubu, is transparent and accountable. But then what we have in this report is that hello? Okay. Well, what we have in this particular report now, we have information from the Ministry of Information and Social and National Orientation, where we have information coming in now that only accurate details will be shared with the public. The ministry is committed to providing timely updates to keep Nigerians informed about the progress of the investigation. But then this report is saying that human rights lawyer Femi Falana has called on EFCC to speed up investigation into the alleged 585 million naira fraud. He also urged recovery of the 37 billion vote for vulnerable people in the country. There's a serious conversation here that we need to have. And every time this conversation comes up, especially as regards our humanitarian affairs and poverty alleviation ministry, is always, oh, we withdrew this money for the good of the people, or we withdrew this money, it's supposed to be, for people, basically. Because what we have here is the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs said they collated individual bank accounts of vulnerable people, and they're supposed to pay these funds into vulnerable people in Akwa Ibom, Cross River, Lagos, and Ogun. So those 4 states, and that's what this 585 million naira was meant for. But why into a private account? And who is responsible for checking all of these things? How do we know that these funds are actually being paid to vulnerable people? Who determines the vulnerable people? And why are we still doing cash transfer when the conversation is out there that cash transfer doesn't really cut it for these actual vulnerable people? Or what do you think, Fuad?
Well, if you ask me what go ask. I don't,
because they're trying to justify it. They say, oh no, the money is for this, we're helping people. How do we know you're helping people?
See, that means
I don't know.
That particular Dᴏᴜ ministry, let me use the street language, the Dᴏᴜ ministry. It's just for chop. And I'm not surprised that you have, Sadiya Farouk run into trouble. She has 72 hours from Friday to now appear before the end. We are counting down on that. She said she's sick. She can't be sick. And then there's one Alima Shehu who also works in the agency that ministry. That said move some amount of money from private account because she thought better ahead, but also moving some money, sucking some of the money. So what she did was to move it into a private account to prevent Beta Edu from taking it. That's what she said. Her name is Alima Shehu. And then you have a Beta Edu that now has too many allegations hanging around her. In fact, there are too many leaked memos now from her ministry. So many leaked memos. Again, there's even one here, Sandra, that I'm looking at. She was supposed to 20,000 naira to 2,000 persons in Kogi State. The same 20,000 naira she was supposed to share to a particular vulnerable people, some vulnerable people in Kogi State. And if you see the way the monies are being spent, Sandra, you ask yourself, everything is supposed to be about 60 million naira. And then you are spending like 10 million naira on logistics, transportation, and running costs. You understand what I'm saying? For media and publicity, for example, you are sharing money to vulnerable Nigerians, so you are budgeting 1 million naira. 1 million naira for media and publicity. What are you publicizing? All you need to do in that ministry is to do what you need to do and just issue a press release and circulate it amongst the media houses.
No, people need to know what they are doing for it.
That's what I'm saying, that how to get that done is so easy. You have a PR unit in that ministry. You do what you need to do, take pictures, get 1 or 2 interviews, issue a 1-page press release to say this is what I've done. And the whole thing, the information is circulated. You don't even need to say anything because all you need to do is just indicate your report amongst the different media houses. You understand what I'm saying? Then for security, 1.5 million naira. Logistics, stakeholders engagement. I don't know what that means. You want to share money, we assume you already have a list. Another for that. Then for us, shares, canopy, banners, public address system, 1.2 million. So on this alone, they are spending 4.7 million. Another 2 million on all manner of ridiculous, useless spending. So what we've said is that look, all these share Dᴏᴜ arrangement that we put in these ministries, and I've never been in support of the idea of sharing anything. Not because we cannot share or it's not done in other places. It is because of our own peculiarities, the way we are. We are going to infuse corruption into it. And that's what we're saying. When Sadiya Farouk was feeding children when children were at home, people were asking questions. And the brazenness, the way they dismiss questions. When you question them, they just dismiss you as if you don't matter. I remember it was the same Farouk Fadia that was telling us that 5,000 naira is important to some Nigerians. That if some Nigerians don't believe in 5,000, she knows Nigerians that 5,000 will solve their problem. This is the same woman that now 37 million that she has to answer to, and she's now saying
7 billion.
How can she be sick at this time, Sandra?
All right, thank you.
And the president has now said, oh, they are going to investigate, blah, 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 and all of that. I'm sorry, I'm not excited about all of that. The reality, look, Sandra, it's just one ministry we are saying. The same spending pattern, if you dig into other ministries, agencies, and parastatals, you are going to find the same thing.
All right. Thank you very much, Fuad. The story is on page 3 of the Guardian newspaper. Femi Falana, SAN, PDP, rights groups, Serap, everyone calls for vigilance and speedy execution of investigation. Well, may we not have another money just gone, just like our 170 billion.
What of Ahmed Idris, the former accountant general?
That's where I was going. 170 billion, just gone like that. We don't hear anything again. Also help us, God. Moving on from that story now, we also have on the front page of the Guardian newspaper. This is trends in the papers on mainland 98.3 FM. 3.4 billion naira debt. Oyo AG faults Makinde's paucity of funds claim. And very quickly, that story is on page 3. The Accountant General of Oyo State, Kikelomo Adegoke, has faulted claim by Governor Seyi Makinde that the state lacked capacity to pay the 3.4 billion debt owed former council chairman and councillors that were sacked on assuming office on May 29, 2019. And her position is contained in a fresh document that has been filed by one of the state's bankers before a federal high court. And the news agency of Nigeria reports that the garnishee proceeding was initiated against Makinde, Oyo State, and others. So, this is actually an interesting one. Well, in the court documents, the Oyo Accountant General revealed that there were sufficient funds in the state account with First Bank of Nigeria, and that the bank had directed to set aside for settlement of outstanding debt. So if we have the money, is there a reason why the governor is saying we don't? Maybe he's trying to, save some money for the state. What do you think of this?
Save money, Sandra.
I mean,
save money. Does anybody save anything in Nigeria? Save for what?
For the good of the state.
You came in and you removed some people and their debt obligations, their payment obligations are supposed to be stopped. The accountant general that should know is telling the court that, look, we have enough money to pay these people. So why is the governor not paying them?
Well, he
wants
to pay in installments.
Sorry?
He wants to pay in installments.
So he cannot. You don't understand, Sandra. If there are payment obligations that belong to the people, if they are not begging for the money, it's supposed to be their right. Why are you keeping the money? Why are you not paying? And then you now give the excuse that you don't have enough money. Whereas your accountant general is saying that, look, you have enough money in a particular account that's supposed to go for this purpose. So why are you not doing it? And I'm sorry, even in the same of your budget, this is the things we've seen. I'm not even sure that the government is poor, not be able to meet some of its payment obligations.
Is this same? Isn't that the same or your budget that is buying fire extinguisher for how much now? 30-something million. How many million now? I forgot.
Yeah, well, the procurement of the state, we saw it too. How reckless they are with their procurement.
All right.
So, well, everything still goes back to what we started with in the morning, Sandra. We are not committed to anything there. We are just joking.
Well, whether or not they'll pay, stories on page 3. It's a case in court. We'll see how this will turn out. It's a very interesting one. Accountant General against our boss. See how that will work out. We also have here on the front page of the Guardian. This is actually an interesting one. PDP accuses Kwara senators and reps of diverting federal government's rice. So that's another problem.
So there's a problem with this rice, whether there was a rice or not.
The story is on page 30 of the Guardian newspaper. So we're discussing rice now. Anyways, that's what we have here is the PDP in Kwara State has charged the federal legislators from the state to explain the whereabouts of 2 trailer loads of rice reportedly from the federal government for distribution to Kwarans at Yuletide, and said that the PDP has tagged it an unfortunate alleged diversion and sale of trailer loads of federal government's rice intervention. There's
a problem with this rice intervention standard. Too many denials. There was a particular leaked memo that shows that the government are giving each legislature 2 trailer loads of rice for sharing to people during Yuletide. And then, one of the senators had revealed that, others have said that they didn't get anything. So there's this back and forth now, and I really don't want to go into the embarrassing details.
It was Edo State. There was a video. Edo State. There was a Sako federal constituency in Edo State. The rep there was sharing. There's a video where he was sharing the rice, and he said.
The question is, did the rice come from the federal government?
Yes, he claimed that President Tinubu provided each National Assembly member with at least 2 trailers of rice for distribution in their various constituencies.
Whereas some of the assembly members are saying no, they didn't get anything. They are not aware of anything.
So is there a possibility that this man, is just doing goodwill and he just wants to, put it in the name of the president?
He can't do goodwill and say it's coming from the presidency. There's something missing somewhere, Sandra.
Oh.
Something is missing somewhere. You understand? That's why I'm saying I really don't want to bother my head with this embarrassing situation. I never believed in this idea of sharing anything anyway. All these rights that we're sharing. Well, it's just a cesspool of corruption. It's an opportunity to further enrich the political class. And when you are sharing things, I said it, Sandra, whoever is so poor to the point that it is our family, it will need the government right to do that, will not even have enough money to cook it.
All right.
Anybody that is poor, Sandra, anybody that is so poor that is waiting for the government right to feed it to our family, when he gets that right, maybe 2 or 3 Congo, he will not even have enough money to buy gas and buy pepper and buy protein to even cook that rice.
Well, the PDP are alleging that they've sold the rice, so they gave their rice.
It's not impossible. Is anything impossible in the country?
They said they sold it to rice dealers in Abuja.
Until EndSARS happened, Sandra, and warehouses were being put. Did anybody know that a lot of our political class were keeping COVID palliatives in warehouses? Maybe it was until the bubble started and after the EndSARS that we knew that a lot of our political people had rice and beans kept as COVID palliative and they did not distribute it. Did we see?
We did. I remember.
So are you surprised that people might tell presidential intervention?
The story is on page 30 of the Guardian newspaper. Also, we have here CBN pays airlines additional $61.64 million stock funds. That's on page 2. Thankfully, the money is coming out.
That amount is about $800 million.
Yes. Anyway, a little drop makes a mighty ocean. At least the money is coming out small. Okay. Let's be happy.
That's people's money that are trapped here.
It's not intervention, or it's not palliative. It's their money. So I think we should put that out there.
What would that tell a foreign investor now?
That we are good keepers of people's money.
We have a way of keeping people's money. Okay.
Let's see the positive in everything, just let's try to let's try to be patriotic and paint our country in good light.
Okay, we should be lying.
No, it's not lying if you just if you try to
or trying to be diplomatic.
Why this story is on page 2 of the Guardian newspaper. That story is on page 2 of the Guardian newspaper. Finally, from the Guardian, worsening insecurity. Anyoko blames killings on non-prosecution of perpetrators. I think we've always had this conversation. The fact that people get away, so people it gives people the brazenness to carry out.
To do more.
Yes, such activities as insecurity continues to escalate with spiraling attacks by gunmen across the country, especially in the north. East and the North Central. FCT former Commonwealth Secretary General Emeka Anyako has called on the federal government to go beyond platitudes and strengthen efforts at tackling insecurity or increasing cases of killings and kidnapping in the country. For had in this 2024 budget, almost how much percent, 40-something% or so is is ascribed to insecurity, which makes me wonder. We spend so much money on insecurity, but we are not really seeing the results of it. I mean, we have here as the highest allocation 3.2 trillion naira. That's what's been set aside in the 2024 budget, which of course after that we have education with 2.2 trillion naira. So if we are spending so much money on insecurity, why can't we see some sort of results? And what can we say as regards the what's that? This is a timeline that's been given to service chiefs now, and also our national security advisor. There's a lot of questions around if he truly understands or has a true grasp of the situation on ground. And also, our service chiefs, there's a timeline that has been given to them by one of the civil society groups. Uriwa is also seeking a judicial panel to uncover conspirators in security agencies. Very quickly, Fuad.
You know what, Sandra, we've always said this, I think it's a very common thing, that you can't be doing the same thing the same way and expect a different result. It's not possible. You keep doing the same thing and expect a different result. Yes, I agree with Chief Emeka Anyaoku, the respected diplomats and pastors, and that, look, we also have a problem with not prosecuting perpetrators of this crime. A lot of times you just hear of investigation, maybe 1 or 2 arrests, and at the end of the day, nothing happens. It just ends there. We have a long list of criminal activities like this in the past against people, what you can call complete massacre or an attempt at genocide. And then, of course, we hear, the government is going to, go after the perpetrators. We are going to do this, we are going to do that. At the end of the day, nothing happens. So I agree completely with that. That's also one of the reasons why people feel emboldened to continue to do this. If there are serious consequences for criminal activities like this, it may need to be some form of deterrence. But another situation is this, Sandra. We can, from today till tomorrow, continue to give different timelines to our security operatives, the service chief. The question we should ask ourselves is that the current security structure of the country, can it work? This structure we are running, from the police to the army and everything we have, this structure, this current structure, even if you like, budget the whole money, the 28 trillion, give it to insecurity. It's a structural defect with our security structure, Sandra. And like we have said, until we structure that entire thing, we may not be able to make a serious progress. It's not really about throwing monies at everything and anything. It's about, look, that thing you are putting monies into is the structure properly positioned to solve the problem. I don't think so. And that's why people are saying that, look, let us even start with the police. What are their numbers? How well equipped are they? What is their level of intelligence? Then, can the current structure of policing we have in the country engender peace and security? No. We need to localize our police to the point where at the local level we are able to gather some useful intelligence. And that can only happen, I'm sorry, if we have a state policing or local policing structure. And so we need to tell ourselves the truth. Put monies into home security with this current structure, I don't think anything will change.
All right. Thank you very much. That story is on page 6 of the Guardian newspaper. Emeka Anyaoku blames killings on non-prosecution of perpetrators, especially the fact that, stories have been coming on and on as regards the fact that our government know who these people are, they know where they are, they know what to do with them, but they're not doing anything. So maybe that's what emboldens them to carry on with their nefarious activities. Let's move on now. You are still listening to Trends in the Papers on Mainland 98.3 FM. I'm moving to the Punch newspaper now. We're still live on Facebook and YouTube. Please do well to drop your comments in the live chat section. Like, follow, and share the post as well. Now, the major headline on the front page of the Punch: Better Edu. Tinubu vows sanctions as anger grows over 585 million naira scandal. And I think we started this conversation, but then just, to buttress certain...
When you do that, that's what you get.
This was the hot topic over the weekend. It was a hot one, and the minister claimed that the money was meant for vulnerable groups in Akwa Ibom, Cross River, Ogun, and Lagos states, describing the allegations against her as baseless. That's what we have so far.
Is simple. We are not saying what the monies are meant for.
But the money was transferred to a private account. Okay.
Yes, that's the issue.
Okay.
The issue is, were there attempts to move these monies into a private account against, and the accountant general of the federation has said that, look, she got the memo, but she refused to act on that memo. So, and she's not even denying the fact that she wanted to, although she's saying that that private account belongs to a particular project coordinator and all of that. It's against the civil service law. You can't move monies of government for government projects into private accounts. But you understand what we're saying, Sandra? Beyond all of what is going around Better Aid now, it is what it is. That's the systemic corruption that is widespread. And like I said, it's just because that's where the problem is coming from now. If you check other places, open the carpets and rugs of other places, the debt you find when it comes to this kind of systemic corruption will be mind-blowing, mind-boggling, Sandra. So, well, I don't know.
The media assistant to the minister, Rashid Olanrewaju, in a statement said that it is legal within civil service for such payments to be made into private accounts of staff members, especially project accountants. And Oniyelu Bridget is the project accountant for grants for vulnerable groups from the Department of Finance. I don't know. Please, let's not go deep into that. GVG, Grant for Vulnerable Groups, is a project, and that the project accountant is to be paid and is to use the same funds legally, retire the same with all receipts and evidence after the project or program is completed. But the accountant generally say, our office did not honor the request for that amount to be paid into a private account.
But again, the civil service law, that's what the woman is saying.
That's what she's saying.
But just imagine that the accountant generally decides to be complicit. That money would have been moved.
Well, that's it. Because the director of press in the office of the accountant general, Mr. Jacob Mokwa, has said that the AGF does not make payments on behalf of MDAs. So yes, the office received the minister's request, but they did not honor the request. All right, just a little back and forth here now. So we'll see how this thing will turn out. There's also a thorough probe that will look into the matter. Of course, human rights lawyer Femi Falana has urged the humanitarian minister to stop insulting Nigerians following her claims that the allegations were baseless. And he argued that payment was in contravention of the extant public service rules, as well as the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Offences Act and the penal code applicable in the Federal Capital Territory. Now, and I'm noting here now, he said that the minister arrogantly said that the 585 million naira fraud allegation is a mere fabrication by her detractors and an alleged attempt by mischief makers to undermine her ministry's effort in fighting corruption. What's wrong with fighting corruption?
They have this statement, ready-made statement.
Alleviate people from poverty. That's what we're asking to do.
Sandra, whenever allegations like this come up, go and check their response. They start by saying this thing. I think they have this inside somewhere. They just copy and paste.
But the point is just that the office of the accountant general of the federation has described as illegal the action of moving the, public funds into a private account. That's the basis of all of this. But let's see how things will turn out. We've had a lot of conversations around this particular one. The story is on page 2 of the Punch newspaper. Quadruplet mom leaves hospital after Tom Polo's firm pays 4 million naira bill. That's on pages 4 and 5 of the Punch.
You have enough money.
It's a good
you're
one.
getting 4 billion every month. You should be able to pay a bill of 4 million.
It's a good one. God bless him for his charitable work, and he hope he continues.
He has enough now, Sandra.
Yeah. Because we don't know if they continued with the contractor.
No, not for now. We don't have any information as to the termination of the contract. So we assume that it's still running.
Yeah. Well, also on the front page of the Punch, we have here, manufacturers may sack workers as Naira loses 39%. So the Naira has depreciated by 38% against the US dollar at the official I&E window of the central bank. Excuse me, in the past 3 months. And data obtained from FMDQ Securities Exchange revealed that local currency fell from 745 in October. So January 3rd is 1,035. This is the official I&E window, though. So just in case someone is wondering,
same I&E window, the way that you don't get anything from.
But I bought it 1.3 yesterday at Abuki, so just so that you know that the difference. At the parallel markets, of course, the local currency has been trading at 1,220 naira per dollar in recent weeks. So specifically, the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria, Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry, as well as the Nigerian Association of Small-Scale Industrialists, said their members are already scaling down operations over the development, and this situation might lead to the sacking of more workers. So more unemployed.
Of course.
Oh dear Lord.
More unemployment for the country, and for those that are scaling down, we just hope that they don't shut down completely.
So we don't even know who to be concerned for now. Should we be concerned for the companies or the people that are going to be laid off?
They're not doing. It's not anything intentional. It's just their reality.
Yes.
Businesses are not run on charity, and they have to pay salaries. Sandra, you don't want to run a business and keep people and keep owing them. And so you're going to check. You're just going to prioritize. And so what you're going to do is probably scale down on the number of your employees. And so what you do is that if there are 10 people doing the same job before, you might scale down to 3 and then make those ones work the more.
Yeah.
Because you want to survive. You look at your overhead and everything. And then by the time you do all of those scaling down and it's not working, you shut down. And just go home in peace.
Well, the story is on page 23 of the Punch newspaper. Above the masthead of the Punch, lawmakers budget fresh 30 billion naira for National Assembly renovation. That story is on page 8. And what we have is that lawmakers have budgeted an additional 30 billion for the renovation of the National Assembly complex in the 2024 appropriation bill. And this is part of 344 billion that's budgeted for the National Assembly. Yes. 344.85 billion naira signed by President Bola Tinubu on January 1 is the highest ever allocated to the National Assembly. As it is now, the additional 30 billion now brings to a close 60 billion naira being spent on renovation of the National Assembly complex. You know, Fuad, what was wrong with the National Assembly complex to begin with? Let's start with that. Remember they said they were changing ACs, some places were leaking. Okay, thank you. So because I just want to know. Okay. So we spent 60 billion naira changing ACs, changing rugs, and fixing leaking roofs.
They're just joking, Sandra. Again, this is, look, the sad part of this conversation. The average politician out there listening to us now is looking at us as poverty invested people. They don't know anything. What's the big deal? It's 60 billion. That's what comes to their mind. I'm telling you. They're just there somewhere looking at us and wondering what's the big deal. These people are just, they don't even understand. You remember when we were talking about Lagos State and they said, oh, it's not air freshener, it's fire. I didn't think we are dumb. But they don't rate us. They don't care. They don't care. You think they care? Sandra, they don't. They don't really bother what we think, what we say. But they have to. Because it's public funds. That's why we're talking about it. If these are their personal funds, can they spend it in this way? The reason we are talking about it is that these are public funds. If it is their personal money, a lot of these guys would not spend this money this way. But it is government money, and the assumption within the political class and among their associates is that government money is nobody's money. Spend it anyhow. And so while they are on this reckless spending spree, they are still the same people that come and tell Nigerians that, oh, the economy is bad, we have a revenue problem, we need to generate more money. You generate to spend it in this way.
All right, what? That's unfortunate, but that's what is going on right now, and well, it's from their budget. So the story is on page 4 of the Punch newspaper. Finally, from the Punch, pages 4 and 5 has Mommy Z's story, and apparently GTEX Holding, a real estate firm, has confirmed via their X handle that they would be giving her a plot of land in any of their estates, either Lagos, Abuja, Port Harcourt, Abeokuta, Ibadan. She also has solar panels for when she builds the house. There's also a solar panel company. There's also there's a lot that's going on here.
I'm sure she attended the crossover night service. I don't know the church she attends. God, she must have made some very serious prayers.
Well, she should cut so for us. Let's do.
In 2024. So we celebrate her and congratulate her for.
Congratulations.
Again, the conversation is the fact that this is a lady that wakes up 4:30 to make the husband's lunch.
Yeah.
For my own generation and for somebody like me, that's no news. It's not anything to celebrate because we grew up seeing our mothers and grandmothers.
Yeah, but the backdrop of this is the fact that in this toxic feminist society that we found ourselves now, that's something that's worthy of celebration. But then I just
hope the young ladies of today, certainly a lot of them who spend so much time on social media, following so-called influencers, negative influencers, who believe that that you're a feminist means you don't have to respect men, you can't do house chores. Somebody was telling me yesterday that one of these popular skit makers did an interview recently, I can't mention him, and was saying that she doesn't cook for her husband, she doesn't do house chores, that, you know, they do it together, it's an equal thing when it comes to marriage, blah, blah, blah.
Okay.
All those negative toxic feminism. You know, I just hope they know that it's not the reality. A lot of these guys are just misleading you.
Yeah. We wish them all the best. We wish Momzi all the best.
Momzi, yeah, congratulations.
She owns a land. She owns the plot of land. She owns 2 cars, laptops, brand new phones. So many things.
Phones and everything.
Yeah, everything. Well, all the best to us. I hope she uses it judiciously.
I'm just saying that what they are celebrating today, our mothers and grandmothers did it and overdid it. Woke up midnight, cook for husband, pass the children, take care of the
It's
home.
okay, Fuad. We know how old you are. We know how old you are. It's okay.
It's fine.
We know how old you are. It's okay. All right. Unfortunately, we can't take any more stories, even though we have Naira note scarcity. Crunch worsens banks ration cash across counter. The story is on page 19 of Vanguard newspaper. We also have EFCC's visit. Dangote explains and assures stakeholders. That's on page 26 of Vanguard newspaper. There's also a whole lot of other stories that we can take that we unfortunately cannot take. All right, but then join us by 8:40 for Mainland Focus, where we will select 1 or 2 major stories, and then you, our dear listener, can join in on the conversation. All right, so please stay with us. This is still Mainland 98.3 FM. The Morning Express continues. We'll be right back.
This is Mainland 98.3 FM, the sound of Lagos. Meals have a way of taking us on a journey, and when you add plenty of vegetables like efo, ugu, and season with the rich taste of North seasoning cubes, even better.
So, go ahead and elevate your meals with more vegetables and the rich taste of Knorr cubes. Today, eat for good.
The Financial Services Regulation Coordinating Committee